welcome to the deep dive.
Wrong.
Today we're going to be looking at something that I think we all know, the golden rule, and we're going to be using a blog post to guide our discussion today.
Oh.
It's called "Living the Golden Rule: Transforming Lives" with Matthew 7.12, Positive Affirmations.
Okay.
And get this, it was published today, November 19th, 2024.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah, it's like perfect timing, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So this deep dive is all about understanding the golden rule.
Okay.
How it can be applied.
Yeah.
And really kind of the rewards and challenges that come with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So the blog defines the golden rule as treating others with the love, respect, and kindness we want for ourselves.
Okay.
But this is something that exists in almost every culture.
Yeah.
I'm curious, why do you think that is? What makes it so universal?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think on the surface it seems very simple, right? Treat others well, and hopefully they'll treat you well in return. But I think it taps into something much deeper, a survival mechanism, perhaps.
Okay.
Societies that emphasize cooperation and mutual respect tend to thrive. So I think that's why we see this in so many different places all across the world.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about being nice, but it's about building a foundation for a strong community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the blog dives into the biblical roots of the golden rule,
Okay.
specifically referencing Matthew 7.12.
Okay.
And then it connects this verse to the broader concept of loving your neighbor as yourself,
Right.
drawing a parallel to Leviticus 19.18.
So that reminds me, I've always wondered about different interpretations of loving your neighbor.
Okay.
How has that concept been applied historically? And are there any ethical dilemmas associated with that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
I think historically the interpretation has been debated quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Some believe that it refers to everyone regardless of background, beliefs. Others apply it more selectively. And this raises questions about inclusivity and how we define neighbor in such a globalized world. It's very complex, especially today.
It really adds a layer of complexity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you think, what about those who don't follow the golden rule?
Mm-hmm.
How do we reconcile that with our own actions?
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
And the blog actually touches on some of the challenges that we face when trying to live by the golden rule.
Okay.
Things like resentment, judgment, and even just feeling too exhausted to be kind.
It's true. We've all been there.
Yeah.
But how do we push past those feelings?
The blog suggests several strategies. One that resonated with me was the idea of shifting perspectives, trying to see things from the other person's point of view, even if you disagree with them.
Yeah. I've tried that before, and it's definitely not easy,
Right.
but I can see how powerful it could be in helping us overcome judgment.
Absolutely. And the blog also emphasizes prayer and seeking guidance from a higher power to find the strength to be kind, even in difficult situations.
And it reminds us that we don't have to tackle everything at once.
Right.
Starting with small acts of kindness can create a ripple effect.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get overwhelmed by thinking about these grand gestures, but sometimes a smile
Right.
or a listening ear can make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The blog uses a couple of case studies to show the impact of the golden rule.
Okay.
One is about a young mom, Emily,
Oh, yeah.
who's struggling to keep up with everything.
I remember reading about Emily.
Yeah.
Her neighbor steps in to help,
Right.
which not only gives her a break, but inspires her to pay it forward.
Exactly.
Like a chain reaction of kindness.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then there's David,
Yeah.
a manager who shows empathy toward an employee, Mia, who's going through a rough patch. But here's the thing. Were Emily and David truly embodying the golden rule?
Okay.
Or was there an element of self-interest? Maybe they hoped that their kindness would be reciprocated.
That's a great question.
It raises an interesting point about the golden rule. Is it always about a straightforward exchange?
Right.
Or can there be more nuanced motivations at play? It's something to consider as we explore these stories further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, it's interesting to consider those motivations behind acts of kindness.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want to be seen as good people.
Right.
Is there a danger of using the golden rule for our own benefit?
That's a really insightful observation. It's definitely something to be mindful of.
Right.
I think true compassion comes from a place of genuine care for others, not just a desire for personal gain.
So how do we tell the difference? How can we be sure we're acting from a place of genuine compassion and not just self-interest?
It's a tough question. I think self-reflection is key.
Okay.
honestly asking ourselves, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Am I motivated by a desire to help, or am I hoping for something in return?
Right.
It's a constant process of checking our intentions.
That makes sense. It's like being aware of our own biases, even when it comes to kindness.
Exactly. And that ties into one of the challenges the blog highlights.
Okay.
Resentment. It's natural to feel resentful if we feel like we're giving more than we're receiving.
Right.
But holding on to that resentment can be toxic.
Yeah.
The blog suggests using prayer or meditation to find peace and release those negative emotions.
I've heard that before, but I've always struggled with meditation.
Yeah.
My mind races.
Yeah.
Are there any other practical tips for dealing with resentment?
The blog suggests focusing on gratitude.
Okay.
It sounds simple, but consciously acknowledging the good things in your life can shift your perspective away from resentment.
Right.
It's about recognizing that even when things are tough, there's still much to be thankful for.
So it's about changing our mindset.
Yeah.
Focusing on the positive instead of dwelling on the negative.
Precisely. And that ties into the idea of shifting perspectives,
Right.
which we discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing on what we're not getting, we can try to understand the other person's situation and why they might be acting the way they are.
So it's about cultivating empathy, right? Putting ourselves in their shoes.
Exactly. And the blog highlights forgiveness as a key aspect of living the golden rule.
Okay.
It shares a story about a woman named Rachel who struggled to forgive a friend who betrayed her.
Wow.
Through prayer and perspective shifting, Rachel was able to let go of her anger and find peace.
That must have been incredibly difficult.
It certainly does.
Yeah, it takes a lot of strength to forgive someone who's hurt you deeply.
It does, but the blog emphasizes that forgiveness is not about condoning the other person's actions.
Okay.
It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of resentment.
So forgiveness is ultimately an act of self-care, not just about the other person.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, and forgiveness can also open the door to reconciliation and healing,
Right.
which can benefit both parties involved.
That's a powerful message. It reminds me of something we touched on earlier, the idea of the golden rule not just being about individual actions,
Right.
but having this ripple effect on the community.
It's true. The blog actually connects the golden rule to a deeper spiritual journey.
Okay.
It highlights Jesus' ministry as a prime example of someone who truly embodied this principle. His actions, from healing the sick to forgiving sinners,
Wow.
were all expressions of compassion and love.
I never thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
It's like the golden rule is a blueprint for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And the blog reinforces this idea by discussing the concept of treasures in heaven from Matthew 6:20.
Okay.
It suggests that acts of kindness and efforts to live by the golden rule have a significance that extends beyond our earthly existence.
So it's not just about making a difference here and now.
Yeah.
It's about leaving a legacy of kindness that resonates for generations to come.
Precisely. And the blog concludes with a powerful call to action, urging readers to choose to live the golden rule today and observe the transformative effects it has on their own lives and those around them.
It's a challenge.
It is.
To make that conscious decision, to embody this principle every day,
Yeah.
even when it's hard.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes it so meaningful.
Absolutely.
It's not about being perfect. It's about striving to be better, to make a positive impact on the world, one interaction at a time.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, it's inspiring to think about that lasting impact.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what are some tangible ways we can incorporate this into our everyday lives?
Well, I think it starts with awareness,
Okay.
paying attention to how we interact with others, even in small moments, like holding the door open for someone or offering a genuine compliment.
Right.
These little acts of kindness can really brighten someone's day and create a ripple effect of positivity.
I love that. It's about being mindful of those everyday opportunities to show kindness.
Exactly. And it's also about active listening. Truly hearing what someone is saying, even if you disagree with them.
Right.
It's about validating their feelings and showing them respect, even in the midst of conflict.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
I think so often we're just waiting for our turn to speak.
Right.
Instead of really listening to understand.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Active listening is a skill that takes practice, but it's essential for building those strong relationships.
Right.
And creating a more compassionate world.
And what about dealing with those who don't follow the golden rule?
Right.
How do we respond to negativity or unkindness
Yeah.
without compromising our own values?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think it's important to set boundaries.
Okay.
We don't have to tolerate abusive behavior, but we can still respond with grace and composure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the best approach is to simply disengage from the situation.
So it's about protecting ourselves without stooping to their level.
Precisely. And remember, living by the golden rule doesn't mean being a doormat. It's about finding that balance between kindness and assertiveness.
Right.
Standing up for ourselves while still treating others with respect.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on the golden rule.
Good.
It's not just this simple saying, it's a profound principle that can really transform our lives and the world around us.
I agree. It's a lifelong journey of learning and growth.
Yeah.
But the rewards are immeasurable.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this. What's one small act of kindness you can do today to embody the golden rule? It could be anything from offering a genuine compliment to helping a stranger in need. Remember, even the smallest gesture can make a difference. And as we strive to treat others with the same love, respect, and compassion that we desire for ourselves, we create a more beautiful and harmonious world, one interaction at a time.
Beautifully said. And remember, the golden rule isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction.